So in my experience of playing drums for different types of music genres, tuning is actually probably the most important besides timing. And the snare drum amongst your other pieces are probably just as important, but your snare drum is usually what people are going to hear the most. It's the loudest and sometimes the brightest. So basically, to start out with, without disassembling this entire piece, this is called the snare because this piece actually right here is what is considered the snare that gives it the attack. If you took this off, it would sound sort of like a tabla or a percussive instrument without any high end. But basically, you'd put this head on, and you would the way you would tune this is you would go across. You can either start, just kind of consider this as maybe a clock where here's your 12 and here's your 3, and basically if you wanted to start from here, tune it and come down and try, as soon as you finish going from here to here, I like to go every other one, so I would go from here to this particular lug, back over here, and try to get it and keep it in that consistent amount of space and tightening. So every time you tighten, you probably want to do just maybe a half turn on each. And you usually start from the bottom because it's easier to tune this particular drum going from the bottom, this being the most sensitive part of the actual snare drum. It has a much thinner head on the bottom, and the reason why is so that it can, the combination of the snare and the thinner head gives it a better and cleaner attack when you hit it. So I'm just going to quickly just go in the order that I tried to instruct. And basically when you flip it over, as you notice, the head is completely different. These are Remo Weather King coated ambassador heads, and normally this is kind of the standard for most genres of playing. When you apply this head, you would normally apply this after you have applied the bottom head. And when you apply this head, you try to go along the same style of tuning. So you'd basically start with this, come to here, and try to keep it balanced so that you're not over tuning one particular lug. So I will do this, excuse the noise. Needs to be a little greased up. And you can, you know, there are plenty of ways to kind of try to make sure that you're balanced out with your tuning. If you kind of feel that you've kind of gone in a circle enough and the head's really tight and you're really not sure what happened, you could always take a look at the side angle and make sure, which is not the most scientific way to tune, but if you're off, this ring is going to definitely tell you you're off. And if you notice, there's a small gap in between the actual ring of the snare head, and the wood shell that's underneath. So if there's anything wrong or with the head itself or the way you're tuning, you'll definitely be able to tell that there will be some spacing issues, and that's not good. The results will be either you'll pop the head or the sound will just be completely awful. So I'll just tune it to there for now. Well, the other thing I forgot to mention is that there's this lever that actually attaches the snare and brings it up tightly to the head, and it's basically just the they like to call it a trigger, or there's nice, very fancy ways like trick, or these basic manufactured ones that come with the manufactured brand of the snare. Custom ones come with different options, and what it basically does is it pulls it off, and when you pull it off, it gives you this sort of sound. So it's, like I said, it's much like a percussive instrument, and then when you pull the snare on, it gives you the full snare with the ring underneath, and that can change based on how tight you want the snare or how loose you want it, depending on the type of music that you're actually playing. So that would be tuning. If you'd like to learn more about playing drums, please click on any of the videos that you see here.